Currently, I'm the director of the Center for Black Deaf Studies. We have the opportunity now to share with everyone more about the Black Deaf experience, about our history and our culture and our language.
When we came back to the city and we decided to go out and sing, it was supposed to only be something that, like, you know, we'll do this until we can find other jobs.
I didn't really want to push my kids into music, and my wife either. I wanted them to experience the joy of music without being pressured into it, and I think that's what happened.
Hi, I'm Carolyn. And I'm Angela. We are the McCaskill sisters. She's the older one, just to let you know that. Hello, I'm Dr. Angela McCaskill. And I'm the first Black deaf woman to receive a PhD in the history of Gallaudet University. I'm Dr. Carolyn McCaskill, and I'm the second Black deaf woman to receive a PhD here from Gallaudet University, and that's history.
We're both from Mobile, Alabama, and we were born and raised here, and then later in life we moved here to Upper Marlboro area, Maryland.
Okay, so I became deaf age 13. Noticed my hearing started to deteriorate. So it was more hard of hearing. I could hear, but I could not comprehend what I was hearing. So throughout school, it was a little bit frustrating, but I was always sitting in the front of the class, making sure that I didn't miss any of the instructions, and I had tutoring, so I was able to function okay.
I was born here.
I was born here,
Fine.
and I lost
I
my
was
hearing
to
We went to a hearing
I
school,
was in school. I
and I
was to
continued to
seventh
go to
grade.
hearing school up until the
So I
7th.
became very frustrated because I didn't feel I belonged in the hearing school. But they didn't have any resources to help me because I couldn't understand the teachers in the classroom. And the kids were laughing at my voice, the way I talk. And the teacher was not saying the best, so I became frustrated. So my mom left to us transfer to Alabama school for the Negro deaf. Where people can go to college. So I thought liberal arts university in the world for the deaf. So for me, I was like, wow, there were other Black deaf people in college like me. Wow, so that was inspiration for me to think about Gallaudet.
So currently, I'm the director of the Center for Black Deaf Studies, and I'm a professor in the Deaf Studies department. We have the opportunity now to share with everyone more about the Black deaf experience, about our history and our culture and our language. So this book was published in 2011. So it tells the story about Black ASL and how it emerged. And it emerged as a result of segregation, and that was in deaf residential schools. So Black deaf signers much more used two-handed signing. Another feature that we found amongst Black deaf people
location.
Was the actual location of where the sign was placed, and it was higher up on the head. Obstacles I faced as a black deaf woman had always to do with equity in terms of access. I can remember when I applied for a job, and it took 3 months at that time for the agency to make a decision to even offer me the job. After they hired me, and I had worked there for a while, I asked because I was so curious about that. I talked with other co-workers. And people were a bit uncomfortable to actually even be honest with me about what had happened. But they said, you know, first of all, you're a woman. And I asked, was there anything else? And they said, because you're black. And then I asked, anything else even to that? They added, well, because you're deaf. So just in that one situation, there was autism, racism, and sexism at play. So being the first black deaf woman to receive a PhD from Gallaudet University, to be honest, it was bittersweet. So first, I couldn't believe that there was no one before me that had obtained this. I received my degree in 2004. And so of course I was incredibly happy, but at the same time I knew this has to change. There are many deaf black people. We as a community are very intelligent and very smart, and we can obtain these types of degrees. And so that was even more motivation for me, and to continue on to write the book, Black Deaf Professionals with Doctoral Degrees. I wanted to continue to encourage people to pursue these degrees of higher education and doctoral degrees, and I'm happy to say that in my recent book, I've documented a total of 22 black deaf people who have earned PhDs or other terminal degrees. And this is the second edition of Black Deaf Professionals with doctorate degrees. And in addition, I was able to come up with a set of recommendations for higher education. And that's because these students talked about some of the institutional racism and the systemic racism that they faced. And so these recommendations were made, and there were 4 main recommendations. One is to set up support groups, because many of these students had expressed the isolation that they felt. Second was that for each person, they would be mentored. They would be assigned a mentor. And ideally, it would be nice to have a mentor within their own doctoral program. The third recommendation was for the university to set a writing center for academic writing, because that is a challenge, both for hearing and deaf people. And the fourth recommendation, we wanted to try more to assess students who come from other countries who have higher attainment rates within higher education here in the United States. And why is that? So that's something that we're hoping Black Deaf Professional Doctorate Project can do more assessment and evaluation of. So Gallaudet to me is incredibly unique. I would say that people come from all over the world. They come here to the university, to Gallaudet, to learn. And it's a very diverse community here. And we're all signing. This is a signing community. You come to this campus, and there can be hearing people and deaf people, and yet everyone has to sign or learn to sign.
I want to tell the hearing world that we are people the same as you. We are intelligent the same as you. We have knowledge, skills, and ability. Accept us for who we are. Include us. Embrace us like we do everyone else. Don't make me feel that I'm invisible. Deaf people can do all things except hear.
Thank myself to know who we are and step on. đúng rồi.
You need to do that. Absolutely.
So what are you doing tonight?
Nó cũng nice. I plan to fly.
You've been working overtime. Yeah.
Try not to read any more email.
Really? I'm surprised. I'm really surprised. You're not really gonna read it on your phone.
I'm gonna try not.
When we came back to the city and we decided to go out and sing, it was supposed to only be something that, like, you know, we'll do this until we can find other jobs. We never in a million years thought that it would be as successful as we had, that this could be our only job, that this could be something that would sustain us. First it felt like, okay, you know, I'm gonna go sing on the street. It's, you know, like, I guess this is like what desperate feels like, you know? Sisters, sisters, there were never such devoted sisters. Go ahead. I'm Lauren Kidwell. I am 33. I've been in the city, in New York City, for about 5 or 6 years. This is my sister.
Hi, I'm Hannah Kidwell. I've been in the city for about a year now, and through that year I've been singing on the street with my big sister Lauren.
It just kind of came out of necessity because we needed to pay our bills and we knew we wanted to keep singing. We're both professional actors normally, but the theater, industry was completely shut down. There was just no work. We just kind of decided to go out there and sing on the street and sing the songs that we love, songs that we both grew up on, which was like songs from the 1920s to the 1960s. We grew up kind of poor, in the suburbs of Los Angeles, and but our family was, we were a very tight-knit family. We have 2 other sisters who also sing, just like this, but they're back in California. Our dad is a musician, and because both my parents grew up listening to their parents sing opera, that was a big part of their lives. And so I think they wanted to instill in us the kind of love of music. And because we couldn't really afford voice lessons, my mom and dad always had us listen to the classicals, to the operas, to the musicals, people who could sing, who had huge, legit voices. My sisters and I were in college when we took our first voice lessons, but we learned how to sing by emulating Ella Fitzgerald and Billie Holiday thrown in there as well. I've got a house.
Personally, I trained for 4 years in classical singing and opera. I've received a few awards. I won the Metropolitan Opera National Council auditions in Los Angeles. I think the thing about the business that we're in is that you can be, one year you could be winning awards, you can be at the top of your career. It's that thing where you feel like you're pulling back on an arrow and then you feel like you're going to shoot out, but then the arrow drops out of your bow. And so one day you could be winning an award, one day you could be singing on the street. And I think we have a background of, winning Grand Opera awards, doing national tours, but we also have a background of being very poor.
I got my undergrad degree in directing. I thought I was going to go be a director and direct Broadway shows and, live my career that way. And then after I graduated undergrad, someone heard me sing and they're like, no, you need to get back into performance. That's absolutely something you need to do. So I went and I got my master's degree in musical theater from Boston Conservatory. And then I actually pursued a career in acting and musical theater. So I've done the national tour of Sound of Music. I've done, regional work here and there all over.
You can answer that one. We're not twins. She's my older sister. She's 8 years older than me. Yeah, I get it though. We look the same.
I'm always like, yes, we are twins. I'm nearly 10 years older than her. I always love the compliment.
By the twin question, I'm offended when people are like,
she's my baby sister.
Yeah. And Lauren's the leader, and it kind of works for us for sure. Yeah. She's not like a tyrant.
Thank you.
There's a line in the biopic about Edith Piaf, and she's out singing on the street. Edith Piaf was, one of the first buskers, and she was out in the street singing, and her friend is standing next to her, and her friend says, "I'm gonna leave, I'm bored." And she goes, "Well, when you're here, when there's two people, it feels like a show. When it's just myself, I feel like I'm begging." And that's absolutely the case for us too. When there's two people, even when she's sitting on the side, it's nice to know that people can associate her with me and go and speak to her about what we do.
Can't blow a note unless the bass and guitar was playing with them.
The reason why we dress the way we do and why we sing the songs we do, because we can come out there in shorts and t-shirts and sneakers and sing the same songs, and I don't think there would be the same reaction. In fact, I was reading something that in the 1940s, red lipstick became synonymous with women of that time period, and it was about during World War II, women wanted to appear that they that they were strong, and it was a very British thing and a very American thing. And so red lipstick was a way to show people that you're like, no, I'm tough. So we love putting on our red lipstick. There's something about nostalgia and something about that genre of music and that time period that really just evokes something. It just it reminds them of a grandparent or of a time in New York City, and being able to share something really special with people. They felt their city, which they loved, was on lockdown and would never breathe again. To be able to be a part of the experience of New York was something so profoundly important that it just blew all of our fears out of the water. And it's been so consistent.
Stars shining bright.
If you danced to your, on your first dance at your wedding to that song, and then you just happen to be going to go get groceries and you hear that song again.
Singing in the sycamore trees, dream a little dream of me.
I sing the song New York, New York, and it took me a while to want to sing that song just because it's corny. it's a song that kind of everybody knows, and you're like, I finally put it on the list, and I said, I'm gonna do it. And then if New Yorkers think it's stupid, then I'll stop. But literally every single time you hear the dun 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 dun, people's faces light up and they start singing along with the music. And
It's up to you, New York,
New York is tough, but it makes tough people. And I think that's what's so wonderful about it, because it either spits you up and chews you up and spits you out, and you end up leaving. But if you can dig your heels in, New York will make you a better person. I mean, no. The short answer is, did Broadway call us up or have us any response from Broadway? No. However, being on 17th and Broadway, we always say that we sing on Broadway, because we're not lying.
we're the lullaby.
So many people come up to us and they're like, have you been on Broadway? Are you going on Broadway? Are you going to be on Broadway? Where can I see you? So, we're waiting for that call. That would be amazing.
I'm Steve Mazakowski, and I'm a jazz guitar player, composer, educator from New Orleans, Louisiana. Well, our household was full of music, for sure. My wife is a classically trained pianist, and we actually met when she was going to Loyola University, and she was studying music there. And I had been playing at a jazz club called Tyler's at the time, playing with Ellis Marcellus.
My name is Sasha Mazakowski. I am a singer, a jazz musician here in New Orleans, Louisiana. So my earliest memories would be watching my father perform at the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Festival with his band, the Astral Project. He's played with everybody. He's so well-versed, and he's, renowned all over the world because of that.
I didn't really want to push my kids into music, and my wife either. I wanted them to experience the joy of music without being pressured into it, and I think that's what happened.
I think what I love about jazz is the freedom that you have to really find your own voice. Playing music together with my dad, he used to sit me down at the piano when I was a little girl and teach me ear training and try to teach me how to improvise while he played guitar.
How old were you there? I don't know. Probably about 1.
I think I was like a freshman in high school, and there was a boy who was like a junior or senior, and I had a crush on him. I thought he looked like Justin Timberlake. I remember he came up to me and he grabbed my hands and he said, "Oh my gosh, you have your dad's hands," because he was this total music nerd, and I was like, oh, my dad's actually kind of cool, and like, you know, I can use this to my advantage.
I mean, one of the most memorable things for me was our first gig that we ever did. Do you remember where it was?
It was like at that like restaurant or something.
We play together, and sometimes we tour together. We'll go to Europe, and it's a wonderful experience to be able to play with your kids.
Working with my dad is, I mean, he's like the boss, you know, and sometimes he makes that known before rehearsing something, and you know, I'm on my cell phone, whatever, checking a text message or something, and I mean, he'll snap at me, "What are you doing? Get off your phone," you know.
She's a really great composer and a lyricist, a really great lyricist. In fact, I asked her to write, you know, lyrics to some of my compositions, and she always comes up with just brilliant lyrics. And then also the fact that she's a great solo artist.
I think I want my dad to know that I'm just so deeply grateful for him in my life, both as a musician that I can play with, a mentor.
French Market Coffee and Chicory.
Mm-hmm. But also just as a father. I mean, he's one of the most kind and generous, loving people I've ever known, you know, and totally selfless, and I think he's taught me a lot about what it means to have like just a really strong person in your life who was there for you no matter what.
Sought it out, or how did you do this?
Yeah, I mean, it was a crazy process.
What's my dad like as a person? He is super duper 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 smart and like can do anything himself.
I already put the water in.
Because he can just fix my car, you know, or do anything in the house, the plumbing, the electricity.
It's special to me now because when I see my kids grown and pursuing their own careers, it's really amazing. It makes me very, very proud. I think, like I say, we all have our own separate careers, but we get together, you know, as a family, and we tend to find common ground in New Orleans music or original compositions and things like that.
The black key, white key theme.